Today I'm going to show you how to easily paint Necron Deathmarks, and it's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, today we are painting Deathmarks the easy way. Now of course I've already primed these miniatures black with a rattle can, and now we're ready to paint. Now I start off with Iron Breaker, and I'm going to do some dry brushing. If you're new to dry brushing, it's very easy. Just put the paint in your palette and then get it on your brush and wipe the majority of the paint off using a cloth or a tissue. And then you just gently dry brush the miniature. The idea is to hit the raised areas and then the recesses don't get any paint. So we're going to leave our black base coat in the recesses. Now I'm painting 13 Deathmarks in total here. I've got 10 which were eBay rescue type miniatures that I had to strip the old paint off and repair some of them. Then I have 3 which are going to join my other 7 miniatures which I already have done, and they've got a conversion where I'm using a green rod in the gun. However, these ones aren't going to have the green rods in. I want to make them look a little different. Now once the first coat was done, and to be fair, you don't get that much paint on the miniature with the first coat, it's all about the second coat, and we're going to do a second coat exactly the same, more dry brushing over the top. This leaves us with a worn, mottled metal look. Now the 7 miniatures which have the green rod in, I'm actually rebasing, so I'm putting them on 32mm bases, and my new unit is going to be on my Tomb World bases that I got from Wargaming exclusive. You can find out more about these bases. I have a video linked up in the description for you. Okay, so the next step is more dry brushing. Really easy paint scheme. We're going to dry brush with Runefang Still. Of course I'm using the Citadel paint colours, but you can use any brand of paint that you wish. This is just going to give us a lighter, brighter silver. But again, using the dry brush technique means that we have this worn metal look. And also, we don't need to use a wash on these miniatures. If we painted it in a block silver colour, we would then have to wash it to give us our black recesses. Now we're only going to do one coat with this Runefang Still. Just dry brush over all of the other silver sections that you've already painted. Now as you can see from the video, I'm actually leaving my guns black. That's because my paint scheme is silver bodies and black weapons. Okay, the final stage for the silver is another dry brush, but this time we're going to use what we call an overbrush, which is basically a dry brush but with slightly more paint on. And I'm going to paint the bigger areas of this miniature with lead belcher. So again, I'm just dry brushing but with a slightly wetter dry brush. This means that the bigger areas don't get that worn look so much as the outer areas. It also makes the metal look a little bit oily, but rather than painting this all over the miniature, we only do it on the big sections. Right, onto the green, and we're going to use Warpstone Glow Green. We're going to base coat all of the orbs. I add a little bit of water to the paint, and I paint this on several times, around 2 or 3 coats. Just gradually build up the colour. Remember, once you've painted it, don't paint back over it whilst it's half drying, because that will mess the paint up. So that's the orbs done, and I also painted the wire on the guns on my 3 miniatures which are going to match my other 7. However, because of the eBay rescue type nature of the other miniatures, I had to remove the wire from the gun and also actually just clean up the joining area where the wire joins the gun. The guns look pretty sleek this way, I like them. And of course I painted all of the orbs on the bases. Okay, continuing on with the green, and we're going to paint all of the areas on the gun that we want green. So that's the energy section at the back, the little pattern on the area where my green rod would normally go, sort of a line going across and then up and down, and of course right at the tip of the gun we've got a little recessed area as well. So I put this paint into the grooves, again 2 or 3 coats just to build up the colour so we've got a nice solid colour. I also paint the little symbols on the chest plates. Okay, the next colour is Mute Green. Again, in my wet palette I've got some water in this colour so that it's not too thick, and I'm going to highlight all of the green. Nothing too difficult here. I'm just going to take a smaller brush and I'm going to paint over the orb sections, just leaving the recesses on the outside edge. Of course, the smaller orbs on the head will only need 2 or 3 coats. However, the big orbs on the gun and the one on the back will probably need around 4 or 5 coats just to build up this colour, make it a nice, solid, bright green. Okay, so the miniatures are really starting to come together now. Now, in terms of the bases, I've decided to split them up into 5, so I can have 2 units of 5, or I can put them together as one big unit of 10. And I did some glow effects on 5 of the bases and not on the other 5, so at least now I can split the unit into 2 separate units and visually have a reference to which model is from which unit. Okay, so continuing with the highlight with this mute green, we're going to highlight the energy section in the gun. Sometimes I will dry brush this on my models, however the energy section is quite small, so I just used a small brush and I just basically brushed the brush over that section. It just hit the raised areas and it was good enough. Of course did a couple of coats of that. And then I lined in the other lines on the gun, again just leaving the outer edge with the original colour. And finally for the green, I of course highlighted the symbol. I tried to highlight it from the circle in the middle of the symbol outwards. Okay, so next I'm going to use Chaos Black, again a little bit of water in this, and I'm going to go over all of the areas on the gun that I want black. I'm basically going to tidy up the black sections on the gun. So it will be 2 coats. Again, they're thin coats, you don't want this too thick, otherwise it will ruin the paint job. Once the black was done, all I had to do then was dry brush the black, although I do a very gentle dry brush because I want this gun to look black. I don't want it to look metal. So a really gentle dry brush with hardly any paint on, just to hit a few of the raised areas on the gun, but just very subtle. You don't have to do this, but of course it's how I do it. And then finally it was just the white faces. So again, white paint in my wet palette, watered down to a nice consistency and then painted on with several coats of paint. 7 coats of paint is how many I counted. Just put 1 layer on, let it fully dry before you put another layer on, and just build up the white paint until you have a nice bright white. And there they are, all finished. A really easy paint scheme, but I think they look really cool. A classic Necron look. Now when these miniatures first came out, it was when they were just starting to discontinue the green rods, and I'll admit I wasn't too impressed with that because personally I liked the green rods, so I did do the conversion with the green rods. However, I have moved on since that time, and now I actually quite like the miniatures without the green rods in. I like them with the green rods, they look cool, I'm happy with them, but it's nice to have some original guns as well. Like I said, I painted the bases differently, so I have 2 units of 5, or I could put them together as one big unit of 10. Now I've made quite a few other painting tutorials. Here's my Necron playlist with all the Necron miniatures that I've painted, and here's some other painting videos that you may enjoy.